Welcome to part 6 of this series of introductory video presentations on an introduction to Open Data Kit, a learning resource compiled by Statistics for Sustainable Development for anyone who may be interested in learning the fundamentals of ODK and mobile data collection. This part shall focus on everything to do with the use of ODK Collect, the ideal mobile app to use for your mobile data collection. As for the content of today's presentation, begin by looking at how to download ODK Collect to your mobile device, then how to configure it to the settings you need for your project, then a little bit on downloading your form for your project to your mobile device ready for data collection, and then using that form for collecting data, as well as looking at how to save and edit these forms in the app itself. And then finally, looking at uploading your forms back to the ODK aggregator from ODK Collect, this being the data you have collected or users have collected. Of course, in previous presentations, I have shown how ODK is a system of moving from a paper survey to your computer by creating a digital survey, which is uploaded to an ODK aggregator, from which you download that form to a mobile device in order to collect data. You then upload this data back to the ODK aggregator before finally downloading it back onto your computer for analysis or reporting or whatever your purpose is. Over the course of the previous 5 presentations, I showed you these first 2 steps, creating your digital form and uploading that form to your ODK aggregator. Today's presentation will explore these next 2 steps involving downloading your form to a mobile device for data collection and collecting said data, as well as uploading your data back to the aggregator as we begin working backwards through the system. Now, following the previous presentation, after we set up our project and uploaded our form to Kobo Toolbox, we can switch over to the mobile device to begin looking at how we can collect our data using the form that we uploaded. Now, the best app for collecting and uploading your project data is ODK Collect. It has been optimized for Android devices, so this would be the most effective way to conduct your data collection. It can be used on other software. It has just been optimized for Android devices, and thus this is where it works best. It can be downloaded onto an Android device, such as a phone or a tablet, through the Google Play Store, or it could be manually installed onto your phone or tablet if need be. But of course, the Google Play Store would be the simplest way to achieve this.
During different parts of this presentation, I'm going to cast my phone screen to you so that you can follow along a little bit more clearly and easily. Here we have the ODK Collect page on the Google Play Store, from which you'll be able to download to your device ready for data collection. Once you have installed ODK Collect, you will see an icon like this appear somewhere on your device. If you open up ODK Collect, you'll be presented with the main menu screen, which will appear something like this with the version number up at the top there. Prior to this, when you first use the app, you will be shown a few prompts about settings, navigation, and user permissions, which are easy enough to follow. If you press onto the dotted icon in the top right corner of the main menu, you'll be shown a drop-down list of settings menus. The About screen will show you just some general information, linking you to the website, a forum, and a link for sharing the app. The general settings, however, will take you into settings regarding form management and the user interface itself. However, it is the admin settings which are most important in the process of configuring the app to meet our needs. If you click through onto the admin settings, you'll be presented with a number of additional menus for separate settings. General settings, which is the admin version of the general settings page I mentioned before, including additional options for user and device identity, as well as server settings. The main menu settings, which controls what options appear on the main menu I showed before. The user settings. This controls what options are present in the general settings, such as the server, automatic downloads, and deleting forms after sending. And finally, form entry settings. This allows you to control what navigation options the user is able to control, including the ability to change the form language, saving the form, or using the Go to Prompt functionality. The latter 3 settings are primarily used for controlling which options or menus users are able to see and use. This can be useful when setting up accounts whose primary or sole role is to collect data. By predefining these options, you're essentially able to limit what functionality of the app they are able to use. However, it is the general settings option here which is crucial to configuring the app for your project and data collection needs. You'll be able to set some key settings which are completely required before you can begin data collection. The most important of which is ensuring that your app is set to the correct server, i.e. the server from which you will download your form and to which you'll be able to upload your data. This is done within the server settings. By telling ODK the server URL, as you can see here, as we are using Kobo for this demonstration, this is our URL, but be sure to use the correct one depending on the ODK aggregator that you have selected. And as I mentioned before, remember that you needed to make note of your username and password for the ODK aggregator, as you need to enter them here, and this needs to be the account that your form is associated with. Alternatively, if you have shared your project with other enumerators, as you are not the only one, and so long as they are given permission, they should be able to use their own account rather than yours, assuming you have shared the project, that is. Doing this will allow you to download any forms which are connected to these accounts and then upload your data once you have completed some instances of the form. In order to download your blank forms in the first place, you'll need to make sure that you have an internet connection, either through your mobile network or through Wi-Fi. Firstly, you will of course want to head back to the main menu, and then we want to press on the Get Blank Form button. You are then presented with a list of the blank forms that are associated with the server you have set. You use the checkboxes for whichever forms you wish to download. In our case, I only wish to download the SSD Introduction to ODK form, so I'm going to uncheck the other box. If you have lots of projects and forms, ODK will default to selecting whichever forms are not currently downloaded onto your device. To download your selected form, simply then press Get Selected and the form should install very quickly. It might take slightly longer if there are media files which the form needs to also download. Once it has downloaded, we are presented with this screen telling us that we have successfully downloaded our form. Once you have downloaded your form, you can now finally start collecting data. If you return back to the main screen and go on the Fill Blank Form section of the main page, you can then select the form for which you would like to collect data. Once you have, you will be taken to the first page of your form. Depending on your settings, you'll either move between the pages of the form by pressing the next or back buttons, as you can see on the screen at the bottom here. Alternatively, the default option is to swipe to the side in order to navigate. I personally prefer using the buttons, as the swipe navigation can be a little bit fiddly sometimes. Often you end up swiping to move down, and this will register as trying to move to the next or previous question by accident. If you do not have these buttons, you can change the navigation method by pressing the dotted icon in the top right of the screen, and then press on the user interface settings from within the general settings. You're presented with this page. The choice of settings will, as previously mentioned, depend on those which has been set in the user control settings as shown in previous configuration steps. You can change the navigation settings here to use the forward or backward buttons, as well as alter the text font size, the language, and change the theme. In sessions 2 through 4, I described how to create your XLS form, detailing how to create certain question types and how to use labels and hints to display text. I'm now going to run through the example XLS form that I created and uploaded, just to show you how these questions appear when you're actually collecting data on your mobile device. First, we had a text question, accepting any text as an input, asking for our name. Next, we had a date question. Now, when we open this up, we are presented with a date widget. This is not the default appearance for this type of question. If you recall, I showed you in the XLS form that I had set in the appearance column for this question to be no-calendar. This changes how the date variable is input. Rather than displaying a calendar, the user will see this kind of listed option instead. This is the default appearance for a single select. These can appear in many different ways and have a lot of potential appearance options, such as being gridded or appearing in a drop-down list, but this checkbox list of items is the default. For question 4, we wanted to collect a geopoint. When we click on this, it will start looking for satellites in order to locate exactly where you are as best as it can, and will collect latitude, longitude, altitude, and accuracy data, trying to pinpoint a rough location. Of course, this can be used for data monitoring or as an actual piece of data that you require in some way. Sometimes this may take a while. As you can see, the accuracy is trying to decrease, but sometimes it takes a while, and for now I shall just cancel it and move on. Again, we have another single select question. I'm going to press yes. And now here we have a multiple select set of questions. As you can see, we have a list of many different countries, and it wants us to tick off which, if any of these, have we ever visited. Again, multiple selects have many different ways of appearing, but this is the default appearance. The only difference between this and the default single select appearance you'll notice is that a multiple select will use square checkboxes, while a single select will use circle boxes. This is a little visual clue as to what type of question you are answering. I'm just going to check off a few, Spain and France. Now, for these two questions, they were grouped together as part of a field list. So as you can see, questions 6 and 7 are actually on the same page, and you can scroll down to see question 7. This is an integer question, so for this we provide a numeric input, which is a whole number, not any decimals. If the answer is none, please enter 0. We have entered that piece of text as a hint for this question, so it appears just below the label for the question. So I'm going to put in 0. Again, we have another integer question working much the same way. Again, I am going to press 0. Now, finally here, as mentioned before, you can actually use images as answer choices. While I did not go fully over this capability, if you look more into the example XLS form which has been attached to this project, you'll be able to see a demonstration of how this is actually a fairly simple process to achieve. When you select an option, a little orange highlight will appear around the image. Just to finish off, we have a few more single select questions. And of course, I put a constraint with this, so you'll see that if I try to select the same answer as I just did, it will not let me. Instead, I will have to select some other options. So we have now reached the end of our form. When you do, you should be presented with this screen. Now you can either choose to save the form now, or if need be, you can go back and edit some answers if you so need. But you can also save the form at any point by pressing this save icon up in the top. So if I can save it here, we have now successfully saved the form. And then we can also save the form and exit at the end. Now, when you save the form, you can go back and edit it at any time before it is sent off as a finalized form. If you go back to the main page and press on Edit Saved Form, you'll be shown a list of all the saved, both completed and uncompleted forms, which are stored on this mobile device, which have not yet been sent back to the ODK server. They'll have a light blue icon next to them if they have not yet been marked as finalized, while those which are classed as finalized will have a purple icon like those shown here. If you press onto the form that you wish to edit, you will first be shown a condensed version of the form with all the answers input underneath the respective question. This makes it easier to navigate to where exactly you need to make an edit. Now, in this case, I'm just going to go to the start. But if you need to make an edit while you are completing the form, you can be presented with the same navigation pane if you press the Go to Prompt icon up here at the top. Here you'll be able to go through and find the question you need to edit. This is especially useful for questionnaires with lots of labeled question groups, as it will show the groups first, making navigation even easier. Now that we have completed some forms, we can move on to how your mobile device links back to the ODK aggregator by uploading saved and finalized forms back onto the server as data. As you did when we downloaded the blank form, you will once again need either a Wi-Fi or a mobile network connection to the internet in order to complete this next step. Once again, heading back to the main menu page, you'll need to go into Send Finalized Form. Within this panel, you'll be shown a list of every saved form on your device which has been marked as finalized. As you did when downloading the form, you select the checkboxes for the forms you wish to upload. Once you have done this, you can simply press Send Selected and just allow the app for some certain submissions. Once you have successfully uploaded your form, you'll be presented with this message telling us that our upload has been successful.
So, just to go over everything that we've looked at today, you'll start by downloading ODK Collect to an Android device. Remember, of course, that while ODK Collect does work on other operating systems, it is simply optimized for Android, and therefore Android devices are best suited for data collection when you are using ODK. You will then configure the server using the URL, username, and password that are associated with the ODK aggregator and your account that your project has been set up with. Once you have done this, you'll be able to download your form and then collect data using this form. Remember that you can also save and edit forms at any point before you finalize them. Once you have finalized them, you'll be able to upload your forms back to your server as data. From this point, you can conduct some basic data analysis or just simply monitor submissions until you have fully finished your data collection, at which point you'll be able to download your data and begin whatever processes you require. Thanks for listening to part 6. The next part will be the final part 7, in which I'll go over more of the data monitoring and data downloading aspects of the ODK aggregator, focusing on Kobo Toolbox.